guys, it's me. I am about to do a product review of the Dremel Multimax MM40-05. I got this off of Amazon.ca. This is the Canadian version, I believe. One thing that Amazon.ca has incorrect is the amperage on the motor. They specify that it's a 3.0 amp oscillating tool. However, it is a 3.8 amp, as you can see over here and here, which makes this probably one of the most powerful Multimax tools in its series, as well as probably one of the higher end type oscillating tools out there. Going to the specifications, it's running off of 120 volts. It's at 3.8 amps. Its oscillations per minute is between 10,000 to 21,000. It's got an operating oscillation angle of 3.2 degrees, and it weighs 3.2 pounds. Most of the materials, the case, the tools, the accessory, they're made in China, Mexico, Switzerland, or US. So just so you know, it comes from a variety of different places. Just flipping this over, this tool is basically the most versatile tool that you might find. What I mean by that is you can cut at different angles. You have different accessories to do different things, such as you have this tool, which is the wood tool, which you can cut straight on, almost like as though it's meant to cut in basically any arrangement, or remove existing grout, or scrape caulking off. Whatever you need it to do, it pretty much can. Note that since it's a very high oscillations per minute, it does its job pretty quickly, but also knowing that it's the 3.8 amps motor, it really hauls. So I ended up cutting a lot of 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s that were used on my floor, my bottom plate for my house, and it cuts through that within a minute. You just got to make sure that you understand how to use the tool and let the tool do the work instead of you pushing it down. One thing that I found was, don't put the entire blade into the actual wood. Instead, cut it on an angle if you can. And what happens when you do that is you're not biting the same amount of length, and you're not requiring the full length to cut. So you're basically doing more precision cutting, which then it just melts it like butter, and you'll go through studs easy with this thing within a minute. One place that I found that I couldn't do very well was on compression members. What ended up happening was the compression member would be squeezing down on the accessory, and then it would have a very hard time cutting because it kept on having too much friction, and thus it didn't really cut. It actually kind of started smoldering and making a lot of smoke actually. So I decided to not use this tool. Instead, I used a reciprocating saw, and then I got the job done. But one thing to mention is this is the quick lock, which means that it's toolless, and it secures your accessories quite well, and it makes the change really easy. Not only does it help on the change, but changing your angles on your cuts, for instance, it makes life that much easier. So I'm gonna put this in the back here. Your box will not come as dirty as it is here. I have used this tool substantially, and quite honestly, I'm very happy with it. So you'll see that when I open this up, it's pretty filthy with either drywall dust or basically sawdust. So what you get inside the box is your user manual. Nice thing that I like about this case is it actually tells you what to put in each little slot, so it makes life a lot easier. I am just gonna go through the accessories. So this is the wood Dremel tool. If you can see, there's different measurements, and that's cutting depths. So like I said before, I think you guys can see it, but there's a little like a burnt smoldering mark here, and that was when I was dealing with a compression member and it was just biting onto my accessory too much. So you got this tool, you got the drywall jab saw, you got the wood and metal, so basically this will go through your stud. If there are any nails or whatnot, it'll cut through that. You got your flexible scraper, which is good for scraping caulking off. If you're remodeling your tiles and there's silicone on it, that will easily go right through it. So putting this back together, I put the flat tool down, then I put the ones with the offset afterwards. Moving on to these ones, you got your drywall and wood. So this gives you the full range of motion. Like when you mount this thing, instead of having a straight edge, this will be a half circle, which gives you a better cutting interface. This is for removing grout. This is the carbide tip. You got your sanding. This is Velcro, and each pad has the Velcro system on it, so it will stick very nicely. I left the pad on, so I put that one here. I'm pretty sure that there's probably a better arrangement that I missed. And then they also give you a lot of pads. I'm not gonna count how many pads there are, but there are a lot. Probably if you subtract all the tools that we just went through plus the sanding block, and you'll minus the tool and then take your 36 accessories, and you'll figure out how many sanding pads you got. So the tool itself is great. I'm just gonna go through the features of it. The cord itself is about 6 feet long. It's got only 2 prongs, so it does not have the ground. One thing that I want to mention is this is your speed, so you you can control your oscillations, 10 being the fastest oscillations per minute. This is your on-off switch, so it's not a hard switch to use. Just flip it up and it's on, flip it down, it's off. These grills on the side of the body, everywhere, they are all ventilation grills. When you run this tool, you'll find that air is just flying everywhere. And that goes to my next concern, is dust collection. You can expect a lot of dust if you're going to be using this tool. What I ended up doing was I have my shop vac, and I ran that right beside it, just so that where my cutting edge is, my shop vac had the hose right there, so it's every time I'm making those incisions or I'm cutting through something, the shop vac has already taken the dust out. The last item that you need to talk about is the quick lock. So if you turn that counterclockwise, this integrating mechanism right here will depress when you go clockwise, which locks the accessory in, and when you go counterclockwise, the plunger comes down, the tool comes out. So just gonna use this as an example. Nice thing about this, you slide it through, you key it at the right angle that you want. So there are multi angles that you can actually use this tool. So if I want to work at this angle, I can key this in. So this isn't 90 degrees, but if I want it at 90 degrees, turn this around, rotate to 90 degrees, make sure that it keys into the grooves there, and then it's done. You're at 90 degrees or straight on. For this tool, I use this usually at 90 degrees down or to the right, and I would lock that into place. And I was doing my cuts like so. And then again, you can turn this all the way over, and then now you're working on the left side. So if you're working on a wall, I'm just gonna come over here to my stud. If you're trying to make this cut right here, flipping it over to this side is the best for me to work at this point in space, right? So that's why this tool is very, very unique in the sense that you can work at different angles, whereas if you had the conventional saw, you're kind of sawing like this and you're really working yourself to probably a problem. Another thing is you can't use a circular saw because your blade has no way of even getting that tight. And this tool allows you to get that tight to make those cuts. So, am I happy that I bought this tool? Definitely. It made my life a lot easier. I'm sure that anyone that knows how to use this tool will definitely agree that this tool is definitely a must-have for anyone that's doing drywall, remodeling, stud work, basically anything that would make your life easier at weird angles and you need to cut something. This tool can do that for you. Anyways, feel free to leave a comment. As always, I'll try to get back to you guys, and thanks for watching. See you guys.